The whistle's shrill blast cut through the humid Andalusian air like a knife, but it was the sight of Audrey's lips brushing against Captain Elena Vasquez's that shattered me first. Sweat dripped from my brow as I froze mid-stride on the sun-baked soccer pitch, the ball forgotten at my feet, while my fiancé, my anchor in this godforsaken deployment, melted into the arms of the woman who'd sworn to lead us all to victory. Aubrey, wait! Audrey's voice cracked like thunder over the Sierra Nevada, but I was already running, not toward them, but away, the red dust of Rota Naval Base kicking up behind me like the ashes of everything we'd built. I'd come to Spain chasing dreams bigger than the dusty towns of West Texas, where the horizon stretched flat and unforgiving, much like the life I'd left behind. At 28, with a buzz cut that made me look tougher than I felt and a duffel bag full of regrets, I enlisted in the Navy right out of community college. Soccer had been my escape, those brutal pickup games in Lubbock parking lots where I'd dodge tackles and heartbreak in equal measure. It was there, under the relentless Texas sun, that I first kissed a girl, a fleeting thing with a cheerleader named Riley, all lip gloss and whispered apologies when her daddy found out. But Audrey. She was the real deal. We met 2 years ago at a USO event in Norfolk, her laugh cutting through the din of bad karaoke like a lighthouse beam. She was a translator, sharp as a switchblade, with auburn waves that smelled like lavender and a way of quoting Pablo Neruda that made my knees weak. Te quiero, she'd murmur in my ear after lights out, her fingers tracing the scars on my knuckles from too many bar fights back home. We got engaged 6 months in, on a rainy night in Virginia Beach, with a ring from a pawn shop that cost less than a tank of gas but meant more than any diamond ever could. Spain was supposed to be our fresh start. Rota was a sprawling maze of concrete barracks and olive groves, where the Atlantic crashed against cliffs like it was angry at the world. The base buzzed with Americans far from home, Marines drilling at dawn, sailors nursing hangovers in the enlisted club, and us, the oddballs who played soccer on weekends to blow off steam. Our team, the Rota Renegades, was a ragtag crew, burly guys from Ohio, lithe women from California, and me, the Texan with a chip on her shoulder and a left foot that could curve a ball like nobody's business. Captain Vasquez, Elena, to those who dared, ran practices like she ran her unit, precise, unrelenting, with a glare that could curdle milk. At 35, she was the kind of woman who turned heads without trying, tall, with silver threads weaving through her black hair like secrets, and eyes the color of a storm over the Strait of Gibraltar. She'd pulled me aside after my first scrimmage, her voice low and gravelly, "You've got fire, Ramirez. Don't let it burn you out." I nodded, sweat stinging my eyes, thinking she saw something in me I couldn't yet name. Audrey fit into this world like she was born for it. Fluent in Spanish from her abuela's stories, she charmed the locals at the mercado in town, haggling over figs and manchego cheese with a wink that made old ladies blush. Our tiny off-base apartment in El Puerto de Santa Maria overlooked the bay, where we danced to Rosalia on the balcony at midnight, her head on my shoulder, whispering about the life we'd build stateside, maybe a little place in Austin, with a yard for rescue dogs and Sunday barbecues with friends who didn't give a damn about who loved whom. "We're unbreakable, Aubrey," she'd say, her green eyes locking onto mine like she believed it. God, I wanted to believe it too. But cracks had started showing weeks ago. Late nights at the language lab, she claimed, or team building with Elena's staff. I'd brush it off, deployments were hell on trust, and jealousy was a luxury I couldn't afford. Not when I was getting for promotion, logging extra hours on the flight line, my hands black with jet fuel. Soccer kept me sane, the thud of the ball against my cleats, the roar of the team when I netted a goal, the way Elena's rare smile lit up the pitch like she'd forgotten she was supposed to be the iron-fisted commander. She started subbing me in more, praising my instincts in debriefs, her hand lingering a beat too long on my shoulder. I told myself it was mentorship, nothing more. Audrey laughed it off over tapas one night, her foot hooked around my ankle under the table. "She's just tough love, babe. Like that drill sergeant who made you cry in boot camp." That was before the whistle. Before I rounded the corner of the equipment shed after practice, chasing a stray water bottle, and saw them. The field was emptying out, the team trudging toward the vans under the late summer haze, but there, in the shadow of the goalpost, Elena had Audrey pinned against the chain-link fence, not roughly, but with a hunger that twisted my gut. Their kiss was slow, deliberate, Audrey's hands fisting in Elena's khakis, pulling her closer. The world tilted. My heart hammered like I'd just sprinted a full 90, but my feet wouldn't move. Not until Audrey pulled back, her eyes fluttering open, and locked onto mine. Horror bloomed across her face, but it was Elena who straightened first, her expression unreadable, like she'd been caught jaywalking, not stealing my future. Aubrey. Audrey's cry was raw, tearing through the salt air. She shoved away from Elena, stumbling toward me, her sundress rumpled, lips swollen. It's not, God, please, let me explain. Elena said nothing, just adjusted her collar with the calm of someone who'd mapped out every escape route. I backed away, the gravel crunching under my boots. Explain what? That you've been fucking the captain while I'm busting my ass to keep us afloat. The words flew out, laced with venom I didn't know I had. Heads turned, Jenkins from supply, smirking, Maria from comms, whispering to her buddy. This was Rhoda, gossip spread faster than Sirocco winds. It's not like that, Audrey pleaded, her voice breaking. Tears carved tracks through the dust on her cheeks. Elena. She gets it. The pressure, the isolation. You and I, we're so wrapped up in surviving, we forgot to live. Her words landed like punches. Forgot to live. I'd given up family holidays, my sister's wedding toast, all for this, for us. Elena stepped forward then, her presence commanding silence. Ramirez, stand down. This isn't the place. Her tone was all brass, but her eyes, those damn eyes, held a flicker of something softer. Regret. Pity. It made my skin crawl. With all due respect, Captain, I spat, the words tasting like bile, this is exactly the place. On your field, under your watch. I turned on my heel, the sunset bleeding red across the horizon, mirroring the rage boiling in my veins. By the time I hit the barracks, the whispers had already started. Betrayal in the ranks. The Texan got played. But as I collapsed onto my bunk, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, it wasn't anger that hit hardest. It was the hollow ache of loss, the kind that echoes through your bones like a distant artillery round. Audrey was my home, and now I was adrift in a foreign land, fighting ghosts on a field that suddenly felt like enemy territory. The next morning dawned sticky and unforgiving, the kind of heat that clings to your soul. I dragged myself to PT, muscles screaming from the phantom sprint I'd run in my dreams all night. Elena's voice barked orders from the front, her silhouette sharp against the rising sun. Drop and give me 20, Ramirez. Heartbreak's no excuse for slacking. The platoon chuckled, but I pushed through, each push-up a silent fuck you to the universe. Audrey tried calling, texts lighting up my phone like flares, I'm sorry. Meet me at the cafe. Please. I deleted them all, burying the hurt under layers of sweat and spite. Word traveled fast in a base this size. By lunch, the Renegades group chat was a minefield, heard about Aubrey and Audrey. Rough. Captain's off limits, man. I ignored it, shoving paella around my tray in the mess hall, the saffron mocking me with its false warmth. That's when Maria slid in across from me, her dark eyes sympathetic. You okay, chica? Look like you got hit by a bull. Worse, I muttered. Gored by my own. She nodded, no pity, just solidarity. Maria was one of us, out and proud since day one, with a wife back in San Diego who sent care packages of hot sauce and tamales. Talk to her. Or don't. But don't let it end you on that pitch. We scrimmage tomorrow. Elena's calling it a unity drill. Whatever the hell that means. Unity. The word tasted like ash. But soccer was my religion, the one place where rank dissolved and it was just bodies in motion, chasing something pure. I'd be damned if I let them steal that too. That night, alone in our apartment, Audrey had crashed at a friend's. I paced the terracotta tiles, the bay glittering mockingly outside. Photos mocked me from the walls, us at the Alhambra, her hand in mine under Granada's stars, a blurry selfie on the beach, foam kissing our toes. I wanted to smash them, but instead, I sat on the balcony with a bottle of Rioja, the wine bitter on my tongue. Why Elena? The captain was everything Audrey wasn't, armored, untouchable, a fortress of ambition built on deployments and decorations. Audrey had always craved stability, the kind I couldn't promise with my nomadic life. Was that it? Had I failed her without knowing? A knock shattered the quiet. I opened the door to find Audrey, eyes puffy, clutching a bouquet of wild poppies from the roadside. Aubrey, I love you. It was a mistake. One stupid night after too many drinks, and Elena, she listened when I was unraveling. Her voice trembled, the flowers wilting in her grip. You're my everything. Forgive me. I wanted to. God, how I wanted to pull her inside, let her tears wash away the pain. But the image of that kiss burned too fresh. One night. How long have you been unraveling, AUD? Since we got here. Since I chose the Navy over that desk job in DC. She flinched. It's not about choices. It's about feeling seen. Elena doesn't hesitate, she takes what she wants. You hold back, like you're afraid it'll all vanish. Her words sliced deep, because they were true. I'd built walls higher than the Pyrenees, scared that loving too fiercely would leave me broken when it inevitably ended. Like with Riley. Like with every girl who'd ghosted after the uniforms came out of the closet. Maybe I hold back because I've seen what happens when you don't, I whispered. But this is you handing me the knife. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Go, Audrey. Before I say something we can't take back. She left the poppies on the threshold, their petals scattering like confetti from a funeral. As her taillights faded down the cobbled street, I sank to the floor, the wine forgotten. Dawn would come, and with it, the field. I'd face them both, my betrayer and my commander, and I'd fight. Not with fists, but with the one thing they couldn't touch, my heart, still beating, still hoping against the odds. The scrimmage dawned under a sky bruised with clouds, the kind that promised rain but delivered only stifling humidity. The renegades assembled on the pitch like reluctant soldiers, cleats digging into the turf as Elena strode out, whistle dangling from her neck like a noose. She looked every inch the leader, crisp polo tucked into khakis, hair pinned back, her face a mask of professional detachment. But I caught the flicker in her eyes when they met mine, a shadow of last night's storm. Audrey hovered on the sidelines, clipboard in hand as our unofficial medic, her sundress swapped for team sweats that hung loose on her frame. She avoided my gaze, focusing on taping Jenkins' ankle with hands that shook. Listen up, Elena called, her voice carrying over the distant hum of F-18s taking off from the airstrip. Today's about focus. No distractions. We're a unit, on and off this field. Play like it. The words hung heavy, laced with subtext only I could decipher. The team murmured assent, but tension crackled like static. Maria shot me a look, you got this, and I nodded, lacing my boots tighter, the leather biting into my shins like a reminder, pain keeps you sharp. We kicked off, the ball a blur of white against green. I charged left wing, my lungs burning with every sprint, channeling the fury into fuel. Elena refereed, her calls crisp and fair, but I felt her eyes on me, tracking my every feint and cross. Audrey's presence gnawed at the edges, cheering half-heartedly for the team, her glances darting my way like guilty secrets. Halfway through the first half, I stole the ball from a defender, weaving through midfield like a ghost. The goal loomed, Elena's whistle poised, but instead of shooting, I passed to Maria, who buried it top corner. The team erupted, but my eyes locked on Audrey's, hurt mirroring hurt in that split second before she looked away. Halftime came too soon, water bottles passed around under the sparse shade of a cork oak. Elena pulled me aside, her hand on my elbow firm but not unkind. Good instincts out there, Ramirez. But you're holding something back. Let it go, or it'll eat you alive. Up close, she smelled of citrus and gun oil, a combo that twisted my stomach. Like you care, I shot back, low enough for only her to hear. After what you took. Her jaw tightened, the silver in her hair catching the light. It wasn't about taking. Audrey came to me broken, Aubrey. Said you two were drowning. I listened. That's all. Listened. As if words could bridge the chasm she'd helped dig. And the kiss. That part of your listening protocol, Captain. She sighed, a rare crack in the armor. One moment of weakness. For both of us. But I'm your CO. This ends here, on the field and off. Fight for what matters. Her words lingered like smoke as she walked away, leaving me adrift in a sea of what-ifs. The second half ramped up the intensity, the air thick with unspoken grudges. A hard tackle from the opposing side, our own guys pushing limits, sent me sprawling, knee twisting in the dirt. Pain flared, hot and immediate, but I popped up, waving off Audrey as she jogged over, med kit in tow. I'm fine, I growled, shaking off the gravel. Her face crumpled, let me help, but I turned back to the game, the roar in my ears drowning her out. Elena blew the whistle for a free kick, her eyes narrowing at the fouler. Fair, but it stung, protection I didn't want from the woman who'd upended my world. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the pitch, the score tied at 2-2, everything converged. I broke free on a counter, the ball glued to my foot, wind whipping my face. Elena positioned herself at the edge, calling plays, but her voice faltered when our eyes met mid-stride. Audrey screamed my name from the bench, Aubrey, go. A plea wrapped in desperation. I could end it here, rocket the ball past the keeper and claim victory, but something fiercer surged, not revenge, but release. I faked left, then curved right, the shot arcing like a prayer unanswered. It sailed wide, clanging off the post with a metallic twang that echoed my unraveling. The team groaned, but Elena's whistle cut short, full time. We clustered for the huddle, sweat slick and spent, her pep talk wrote, solid effort. Build on it. But as we broke, she caught my arm again. That shot, you had it. What stopped you? You, I whispered, the words slipping out raw. Her. Everything. The field emptied, laughter fading into the dusk, but we stood there, the three of us forming an unwitting triangle, Elena releasing me slowly, Audrey approaching with hesitant steps, her eyes pleading for a truce. Aubrey, talk to me, she said, voice small against the crashing waves in the distance. Elena hung back, giving space but not leaving, witness to the wreckage she'd helped create. I laughed, bitter and broken. Talk. Like you talked to her. About us. About how I'm holding back, while you're out here seeking solace in the one place you knew would destroy me. Tears pricked, hot and unwelcome. I came to Spain for you, AUD, gave up Austin, my ma's tamales, everything. And for what? To watch you unravel in someone else's arms. Audrey's shoulders shook, sobs escaping. I was scared. Of losing you to the job, to the distance. Elena. She promised understanding, no strings. But it was a lie, to her, to me. I hate myself for it. She glanced at Elena, who looked away, jaw clenched. It meant nothing compared to us. Nothing. The word exploded from me. It meant my trust, shattered. My heart, in pieces on this damn field. I gestured wildly, the goalpost mocking us. Elena stepped forward then, her voice steady. Enough. This is on me too, Ramirez. I crossed lines I swore I wouldn't. As your commander, I apologize. As a woman. I regret the pain. Her eyes held mine, not with seduction, but sincerity, a bridge extended over the abyss. The rain finally broke, fat drops splattering the turf, turning dust to mud. We stood there, soaked and silent, the storm mirroring the one inside. Audrey reached for my hand, and this time, I didn't pull away. Her fingers were cold, trembling, but real. "Fight for me, Aubrey. Like you fight out here. Please." I looked between them, the betrayer I'd loved, the commander who'd tempted fate. Forgiveness wasn't a switch, it was a marathon, mile after muddy mile. "I don't know if I can," I admitted, rain mingling with tears. "But I won't quit. Not yet." Elena nodded, stepping back into the downpour. "Take the time you need. Both of you." She walked away first, her figure blurring in the sheets of water, leaving us to salvage what remained. That night, back in the apartment, the storm raged outside as Audrey and I sat on the balcony, wrapped in a shared blanket. No kisses, no promises, just words, halting and honest. She spoke of her fears, the abuela who disowned her for loving women, the isolation of translation work where words bridged worlds but never her own heart. I confessed mine, the Texas preacher who'd called me an abomination at 16, the deployments that left me hollow. "I held back because losing you would kill me," I said, voice barely above the thunder. She leaned her head on my shoulder, the lavender scent faint but familiar. "Then don't hold back now. Let's rebuild. Slowly." It wasn't absolution, not yet. But in the quiet after the rain, with the bay lapping like a lullaby, I felt the first stirrings of hope, a fragile shoot in cracked soil. The field had tested us, exposed us, but maybe, just maybe, it could heal too. Days blurred into a tense routine, practices where Elena's commands were clipped, her eyes avoiding mine, late-night talks with Audrey, piecing together the shards, stolen moments on the pitch where I'd sink a goal and feel, for a breath, whole again. The base rumor mill churned, Aubrey's back in the game, literally, but Maria's crew rallied, inviting us to bonfires on the beach, where we'd roast marshmallows and share stories under stars that felt closer here than anywhere. Elena kept her distance professionally, but once, after a brutal drill, she left a note in my locker: "Fire like yours doesn't extinguish easy. Channel it." No signature, but I knew. Yet doubt lingered, a shadow at the edge of every touch. Was Audrey's remorse real, or just guilt's echo? And Elena, did her regret mask something deeper? The high point came unexpectedly, a weekend tournament in Seville, the teams shot at glory against other NATO squads. The bus ride south was raucous, cards, bad jokes, Audrey's hand in mine under the armrest. "We're okay," she whispered, and for the first time, I believed her. Seville hit like a fever dream, flamenco rhythms pulsing from tapas bars, the Guadalquivir River winding lazy through streets alive with orange blossoms and history. The tournament pitch, nestled in a park near the Alcazar, buzzed with international energy, British squad dies trash-talking French engineers, Germans drilling warm-ups with Teutonic precision. Our renegades arrived scrappy but fierce, Elena's pre-game speech firing us up: "Play for the unit. Play for home." Her gaze lingered on me, a silent nod of respect, and I felt it settle something jagged inside. Audrey sat sidelines again, her cheers genuine now, laced with the tentative joy of reconciliation. We'd spent the nights prior in Seville's labyrinthine alleys, wandering hand in hand, stealing churros from street vendors and laughing at nothing. No bed sharing yet, boundaries held firm, but the kisses we traded under lantern light were soft, exploratory, like relearning a language. "I choose you," every time, she'd say, her fingers lacing through mine, and slowly, the walls I'd built began to crumble. The first match against the Brits was a grinder, mud from an overnight shower turning the field to slop, tackles flying like accusations. I scored early, a header off Maria's corner that kissed the crossbar before dipping in, the crowd's roar vibrating through my chest. Audrey's whoop cut sharpest, her arms waving like flags of surrender. Elena subbed me out late, her pat on the back lingering: "Proud of you, Ramirez." Simple words, but they landed heavy, a bridge mending in the quiet spaces. Halftime in the locker room, tension simmered. Jenkins griped about a ref call, but I caught Elena and Audrey exchanging a loaded glance, not heat, but the awkward residue of shared secrets. My stomach twisted, old wounds itching. After the win, as we cooled down by the river, I pulled Audrey aside, the waters murmur our confessor. Seeing you too. It still stings. Like salt in the cut. She nodded, eyes downcast. I know. And I'll spend forever making it right. But Elena, she's stepping back. For us. For the team. Later, Elena confirmed it over post-game sangria at a plaza cafe, the three of us at a corner table, the air thick with unspoken truces. I was wrong to blur those lines, she said, swirling her glass. Ambition's a lonely road, Aubrey. Seeing you fight for this, for her, it's a reminder. Love's worth the risk. Her vulnerability cracked something in me. Not attraction, but understanding. We'd all been adrift, me and my fears, Audrey and her doubts, Elena in her commander's isolation. Truce. I offered, clinking glasses. She smiled, genuine, weary, and for the first time, the field felt like neutral ground. The semi-final against the Germans was Armageddon, 90 minutes of relentless pressure, their keeper a wall of blonde efficiency. We trailed 1-0 into extra time, legs leaden, spirits fraying. Elena's halftime roar, dig deeper. This is your fight. Ignited us, but it was Audrey's voice from the bench that pierced the fog. Aubrey, you're unstoppable. For us. I broke on a solo run, evading two markers, the ball heavy as regret on my foot. Elena signaled a through ball, trusting my curve, and I delivered, arcing it to Maria for the equalizer. The equalizer that became legend. We pushed to penalties, hearts and throats, and when I stepped up for the final kick, the stadium hushed. The keeper stared me down, eyes like steel. Memories flashed, that first kiss with Audrey in Norfolk rain, Elena's hand on my shoulder post-scrimmage, the poppies wilting on our doorstep. This wasn't just a shot, it was absolution. I breathed deep, the Andalusian air filling my lungs with possibility, and struck, clean, true, nestling in the top corner. The net rippled. We won. The team mobbed me, bodies piling in joyous chaos, Audrey breaking through to hug me fierce, her tears soaking my jersey. You did it, she whispered. We did. Elena approached last, whistle around her neck like a medal. That was heart, Ramirez. Pure heart. No more, no less, a commander's praise, a woman's respect. In that moment, under Seville's eternal sun, betrayal felt like a distant scar, faded but instructive. The final against the French was anticlimactic, a 3-1 rout where I assisted twice, the victory parade through Bay Streets a blur of cheers and cold cervezas. Back in Rota, life settled into a new rhythm, Audrey and I therapy sessions via Zoom with a stateside counselor, her ring back on my finger, heavier with intention. Elena fast-tracked my promotion papers, her recommendations glowing, and we nodded hellos on the pitch like old adversaries turned allies. The Renegades became family tighter than blood, barbecues on the cliffs, where Maria's wife video-called with stories of home, and we'd toast to survival. But humanity's mess doesn't vanish with a win. Months later, as autumn wind stripped the olive leaves, Audrey confessed a deeper wound, not just the affair, but a pregnancy scare from before us, a ghost that made her cling too hard. Elena, in turn, opened up over coffee one gray afternoon, her own lost love, a Marine killed in Kandahar, the walls she'd built since. Command teaches you to bury it, she said, stirring sugar she never drank. But you too. You're teaching me to unearth. We didn't become friends, the three of us, not quite. But understanding bloomed, a quiet grace that softened edges. For me, the field transformed, no longer battleground, but sanctuary. I'd run drills at dawn, the straight salt spray on my face, and feel gratitude, for the betrayal that broke me open, for the love that pieced me back, stronger, more compassionate. One crisp November evening, as the sun dipped into the Atlantic, Audrey and I stood on our balcony, her hand on my belly, not pregnant, but dreaming of futures unfettered by fear. "Marry me again?" she asked, the pawn shop ring glinting. "Proper this time. In Texas, with Ma's tamales and all." I pulled her close, the world vast and forgiving. "Yes. 1,000 times." Below, the base lights twinkled like stars fallen to earth, and in the distance, the soccer field lay quiet, waiting for the next fight. But this one. We'd won. Not with goals or glory, but with the raw, redemptive ache of hearts that dared to love anyway. In Spain's embrace, far from West Texas dust, I learned that betrayal isn't the end, it's the forge. And love? It's the fire that tempers you, leaving you scarred, yes, but unbreakable.